Hey there hunters, welcome back to the Gunners Guild. Today I'm going to be following up on the Bowgun Q&A, which I was pretty delighted to do, to be honest, and I wanted to talk about Bowgun skills today and their priorities. This is more of a meta perspective thing, but it may help you decide what to pick when you're building sets with your own charms that you have available, so let's just go ahead and dive in. First, we're going to cover the obvious stuff, the offensive skills. These include your shot type up skills, attack boost, agitator, wex, crit boost, crit eye, bloodlust, max might, dereliction, mail of hellfire, chain crit, coalescence, stuff like that. For the most part, you know what these skills do. They add damage in the form of raw or crit. You can build your bowguns and, well, any sets in a million different ways, and honestly, as long as you try to squeeze the most of these as you can on a set, you're pretty much gonna be fine. The only ones that actually need explanation are dereliction and chain crit. Dereliction gives you raw if you're on blue scroll, and element if you're on red scroll. They have flat values and increase after 30 and 60 seconds when your first and second leeches are full. Swapping scrolls does consume the leech to heal you and resets your accumulated buff, so it does drop. Chain crit also gives you flat raw and element based on its level, but also adds a bonus after 5 consecutive hits, and if you keep hitting within like 3 or 5 seconds, you gotta keep it going. Both these skills are really good if used properly. Dereliction is amazing for both raw and elemental sets because you can pair it with resentment for more free damage, but you do have to be careful about the life leech. Dereliction's biggest downfall is that the armor pieces have no level 1 slots, which are very important for gunning, and we do kind of lose out on other skills trying to get it. Chain crit is in the same realm of being great, lots of flat damage and element, but its armor sets are lacking slots as well because, well, it's the same armor. Good news is that this and dereliction work amazingly well for elemental gunning. So let's go to the utility skills really quick. These include some of the more obscure ones. Our list is recoil down, reload speed up, spare shot, ammo up, ballistics, sniper, and tune up. I had covered what the new skill tune up does on the Q&A vid and I believe in another video early on, so I won't be going over that again. And all these skills you should be familiar with. So let's talk about the priority and explain what and why. First, we're going to talk about what is required for the absolute foundation of our builds. Absolutely mandatory for all our sets is going to be our shot type up for respective MOs. The damage increase is the greatest we'll see for the cost. Next is an appropriate amount of recoil and reload. Not all bowguns need to have recoil 3 and reload speed to have the fastest reload and smallest recoil. Check your bowgun stats as you're slotting them in and see how many you need. All MOs should be on low recoil and fastest reload. You can use the silencer and tune-up if you need extra levels of recoil, or no barrel mod at all with tune-up if you want more reload speed. But obviously, you're going to want to be able to use power barrel for more raw to be optimal. So this is the core. Literally no bowgun set shouldn't have these skills. But now let's move on to the next most important skills. For raw bowguns, it's going to be our typical DPS increasing stuff. Weakness exploit, crit boost, like those should be on every set. I'm also going to tack Bloodlust on here as well because it's obscenely good even at one point. It's 20% more crit and more or less it's always active. These are your next best static DPS increasing skills. Now along with these, you're going to want your raw scaling stuff such as attack boost or dereliction or mail of hellfire. Getting a little bit of everything is good too. Elemental bowguns still want weakness exploit, but more importantly, elemental scaling skills like dereliction, chain crit, and coalescence are going to be your next best bets at increasing your elemental damage. Elemental setups don't need a focus on crit as it's a lot to invest to get like 100% crit and crit element for only gaining 15% more elemental damage. So because of that, we're going to be doing raw scaling and pure elemental scaling. It's going to be far more effective. You do need to moderate how many DPS boosting skills you slap on your set and whether or not you want some other quality of life skills. So just, put everything in with moderation. But let's jump into the quality of life stuff. Ammo up, spare shot, ballistics, sniper, they all have their uses, but they're not necessarily required. And it's going to be up to you and your preferences to balance, what you want and how much. MO up skill is an interesting skill. Each level of MO up will increase the clip size of that level of MO by 1. Elemental and size will require 2 levels of MO up for the extra clip size. Typically, this skill isn't worth using, as 1 more clip size is pretty much a non-issue, especially since we're typically using level 3 MOs, and using 3 level 3 slots is definitely too much to ask for. However, I do use this on most elemental setups, mostly because their clip sizes are usually tiny, like 3 or 4, and there are armor pieces like the Vike helmet that come with MO up too, which is perfect. Having the extra clip size does help reduce the amount of reloads you need to do, which is much more noticeable in clip 3 MO stuff compared to clip 6, which is typically why we don't have it on the raw side. So this is great for elemental setups, not so much for raw. Spare Shot, a once highly valued skill, is still good and almost always worth considering, but it's nowhere near as good as it used to be. The reason why it was so highly valued in World was because our fire rate and reload speeds were much slower. We typically had a 2-second reload time in World compared to Rise's 1 second, since we always had the fastest reload in Rise. If you had to reload 20 times in a hunt, that's 40 seconds in World you just lost, and only 20 seconds in Rise. Spare Shot was great because it could lessen the amount of times you would have to reload and therefore save time in a hunt. The amount of time saved in Rise is significantly less, but it's still something. Now you're just having to compare that with, a few seconds of saved time from reloads or spending the points in more damage, which would save time that way. So it's kind of dealer's choice. The other benefit to Spare Shot though is that it's effectively giving you more ammo, which is important for elemental ammo, which has a more limited supply, as they could also run out and hunt and need to restock. So again, this is a skill I prefer and almost always run on elemental setups, but I still use it a lot in most of my sets since a lot of the armors now come with Spare Shot on it. It's actually really easy to put in. So it's not really mandatory, but if I'm already getting like 2 points from armor pieces, I'm just going to get it to level 3. Ballistics is pure quality of life. It gives you a bigger window to get your maximum damage in on your shots because it extends your critical distance. But if you think about it, you spend a few seconds shooting or waiting to get into your critical distance to shoot, then you're losing on damage compared to just, being in it already. So quality of life, yes, but also damage, yes. Ballistics is a very good skill, especially for Pierce and Spread. Letting Pierce get in closer to deal more damage and having a bigger critical distance window gives you more maximum damage on your ticks. And Spreads will just be able to shoot from further back so you don't have to be point blank. Ballistics also has a level 4 decoration for 2 ranks of it, which is probably the only good use of a level 4 decoration I've seen, as there is no recoil or reload level 4 for some reason. Ballistics makes playing some things much comfier, and I'd highly recommend it for both Pierce and Spread emmos, but it's not really needed for normal or elemental. Sniper is in a similar boat. The first 2 ranks reduce the amount of deviation you have, which is really important for Pierce and normal ammo, but it really doesn't matter for Spread as your bolts will make contact before they even shift off course. Eating for things like Temper also increase your deviation, so sometimes using 2 ranks of Sniper is worth it. The 3rd rank of Sniper is new and it extends your critical distance the same amount as Ballistics 3 would, but it does not stack with Ballistics 3. So you can have Ballistics 2 and Sniper 3 for that extra distance, or Ballistics 3 and no Sniper, and they're going to be at the same regardless. So it depends on what slots you have available, which one you want to use. If you have the free level 1 slots, I'd highly recommend getting in Sniper, but if you don't worry about it. I wouldn't go out of my way to put it in a set. Some of the other weird damage boosting skills like Coalescence, Resentment, Chain Crit, and Mail of Hellfire and Agitator are all basically on this list of it's great if I can get it, and they tend to come in a lot of armor pieces anyway, so we do have them on some sets. It's a free added bonus, even like the level 1 skills are fine. But again, these aren't skills I'm going to go out of my way to really include, as we do end up losing other things like level 1 slots that we need for recoil and reload, or other damaging skills somewhere else. So they're great, but again, not mandatory. So your basic sets should end up looking something like this without a charm, and you can kind of branch out from here depending on what your charms you have available. And obviously the gear pieces are going to change if you actually have charms to get more optimal. But with a no charm, you can run in with this and be pretty much effective on your bowgun sets. But that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. I hope you learned something again. Thank you all for watching, and good luck out there, hunters.